do these questions using a function on our CAS calculator called nsolve. And nsolve allows you to put in a formula with the values that you know and solve for the unknown without changing things around. So if we were to manually do these trig calculations, if we're trying to find an unknown side and we know an angle, and one of the unknown sides, if we choose our appropriate trig ratio, we can solve for that unknown side. If we know our two sides and we're trying to find for the unknown angle, we can use the inverse trig function and actually work out our unknown angle. But sometimes that might be a little bit tricky, especially if you're not very good at swapping equations around. So let's have a look firstly how you find nsolve. And nsolve is stands for numerical solving. So we want to pick new, we want to add a calculator, and then we want to go to menu, go to algebra, go to numerical solve, and click on that, and that's what we've got. So let's have a look at this example here and try and work this out. So what we want to do is we want to find the length of this unknown side. So we have an angle and we have another side. So the important thing is to label that triangle carefully first. And we've spoken about this in class before. The side that is opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. The side that is opposite the angle is the opposite side. And the side that is next to the angle is the adjacent side. But we don't need to worry about that for this example because we've got the hypotenuse, we've got the angle, and we've got the opposite side, and we're trying to work out what the length of the opposite side is. So now what we need to do is we need to go to nsolve. So if we put into nsolve here, and what we want to do is we want to type in the value of the angle because we know that. So that's going to be 34. And I'm going to close that bracket. And then that's going to equal the opposite side. Now the opposite side has got the pronumeral on it. So actually let's do this again. We want to choose our sine ratio. We've got the opposite over hypotenuse. So we want to go control. We want to press our trig function. Sorry, my mistake. We want to press trig function. We're choosing the sine rule. Okay. Now we're going to type in our angle, which is 54. I'm going to close the brackets, and that's going to equal, again, what we want to do is make sure that all of this is in a set of brackets, and we're going to put x for the opposite side. We're going to divide that by the length of the hypotenuse, which is 30. We're going to do comma x, because x is what we're solving for, and we're going to close the bracket. When we press enter, our side length is going to be 30.7426. So we would round that appropriately, and in this case then, if we were doing it to 2 decimal places, which is the common one that we ask you to do, we're just going to simply write 30.74. So let's look at this next example. Again, we're going to label the triangle. Here is our hypotenuse, but the hypotenuse we're not going to worry about because it's not part of the equation or the problem. We've got our angle here, we know our angle, and we've got our side that's here, which is our opposite side. And then we have the side that's next to the angle, not included, which is not, we're not going to include the hypotenuse there because that's got its own name. And this is going to be our adjacent side. So the trig ratio that relates opposite to adjacent is the tan ratio. So now we're going to find the value of the adjacent side. And again, what we're going to do is go to menu. We're going to choose algebra and numerical solve. And you need to just be careful here. So now we're going to go back to the trig function. We're going to choose tan, and we're going to type in the value of the angle. Again, being very careful where your brackets are and so forth. We're going to say equals, and now the opposite side is 28. So we're going to write 28 divided by the letter x. And we're going to comma x because we're trying to find for that answer. And then we press enter. So again, rounded to 2 decimal places, we're simply going to write 52.66. So again, if you practice nsolve, it saves some of you a little bit of angst. Now, some of you are good with putting these formulas together and switching them around, but if you're not good, make nsolve your friend and practice with it. So let's have a look at this one. So this one here is asking us to work out the value of the unknown angle. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the angle and we're going to label the triangle carefully. Okay, we've got a side that is opposite the angle. We've got a side that is adjacent to the angle. And remember, the side that is opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, but we don't need it for this question. So now we're going to choose nsolve again. We're going to go to menu, we're going to choose algebra, we're going to choose numerical solve, and we're going to choose from the trig function tan and the tan of theta. So now we're going to come down here to the pi symbol and we're going to find our theta sign. And then we're going to close the brackets, and that is equal to the opposite side. Now the opposite side is 3 divided by the adjacent side, which is 4. We're solving for theta, so we're going to do comma, come down to the pi symbol again, choose theta, and close the bracket and solve. So that angle there, that has an opposite side of 3 and an adjacent side of 4, rounded to 2 decimal places, is simply going to be 36.87. So again, please play this video again if you need to and practice nsolve, because it'll save you a little bit of time and increase the chance of your calculations being correct. But again, you must know what it is you're trying to solve for, so the unknown, and what it is that you know, and choose your trig ratios very, very carefully.